Today, what I wanted to go through is kind of that last day of the job. You've pulled all of the equipment, you're taking a look at your job and kind of going through some final fine points that we might see. So I'm going to go ahead and start that video. It's about 10 minutes. Pay attention to the comments that they make about kind of making sure the job is set up for the rebuild people to come in, whether that's you guys or it's somebody else. Kind of pay attention to that. And then also when they talk about kind of some contents protection and some other things.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You got enough light there?
I do.
Hey guys, just wanted to start doing some training videos here with Karina, and you guys all know we're not Disney, okay? But no one complains about our content. So we're at an actual flood that this is equipment's been pulled, and we're doing a kind of a walkthrough of what it should look like. We're going to point out a lot of really good things that they did, and just a couple little things that will make it just that much better. And especially with Karina's background with rebuild, she's going to point out a few things that you could do that would help your rebuild company and your team do better. So if you guys want to walk in here with us, as you can notice, it's nice and clean. It smells really good. Can you guys just kind of scan all over? We'll just keep talking. We've got nice and clean here. The basic thing that I like about it is it smells good. I know that sounds silly, but for a lot of clients and for anybody who walks in here, they're going to go, does it smell clean? It smells clean, it looks clean. So a couple of things, Karina, if you want to use your camera and show them a few of the things that you would have improved on.
Here I would have used a cut saw or a adjustable depth saw where you can actually make your lines a lot cleaner, a lot better for the reconstruction companies.
Other thing right here, now the rest of them, the covers are on the outlets, but this one we want to make sure this cover's on here so it's safe. We do say in the rebuild they're probably going to put new outlet covers on, but we want this covered in the meantime.
That is correct. They need to be covered in the meantime.
Another thing that you pointed out was you love that the tack circle's all gone.
Yes.
Want to hit that up, how we have issues with that?
We have quite a few issues where the tack strip is still left, and you'll see that it's, over the time it starts to darken, and it could have growth in it. You've got that sandwich. So anytime if you need to pull the carpet in the pad, you need to pull your tack strip.
What we were just talking, Glenn mentioned they've got 3 dogs here. Mm-hmm. So do we need 3 dogs in here running around with tack strip, right? Yeah. Or children, right? Mm-hmm. Another thing that you guys pointed out that was great was if you're gonna, let's just say only this side of the trim needs to come out, right? On this side, take the whole thing, right? Love that. I heard that twice in 2 days by rebuilders. Can you explain why you want them to take the whole thing for a rebuild purpose?
A couple of things. Number one, because it all needs to match. Number two, if you have an adjuster that just is a stickler and they see that top piece on there, they're going to want your rebuilder to try and match that. For a few linear feet, it just needs to come out.
Let's show them on this one too. So same thing with the doorway, same thing. So I heard training yesterday. I heard the technician say, yes, I would take this side off and this side over here, but they were going to leave the top piece. Right. And there's the exact same thing that you just said. They said, no, this whole thing's got to come out so they can put it all. I want to point out what you were talking about with up here on the lighting.
So your light fixtures, this kind of stuff really should be covered. If you see when you're doing demo, if you see now this is something that is going to have to be cleaned and should be line item out. If the demolition company doesn't do it, or you as a mitigation company should be covering these. Just bring your own lights. If you're having, especially with fans like this that have, this isn't going to be easy to clean.
Yeah,
should be right. All of the electronics.
Now, let's say you do use it like this, then we just want to make sure we include it on the invoicing, right, for the rebuild to be clean.
Correct.
Is that how you like that?
That is correct. Unless they're going to be in this room, which hopefully nobody's in a room like this. But if for some reason they, because you have some people that don't want to stay, you're going to want to clean it. You don't want them turning it on and having that.
Anything you want to point out here?
A couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one.
Right, everybody, this is
George. How you doing? Pleased to meet you. A couple of things. You mentioned the cat saw. If y'all know and you've used a cat saw, you can't get to the corners with a cat saw. The best tool to get that corner cut on both sides on a V or in the angle of the room is a multi-tool. The half moon shaped little cutter zips that corner out perfectly clean and straight.
Do you have a brand that you would recommend for that? I'm just saying.
Everybody has a preference. I don't go there.
Okay.
But you all know what I'm talking about. It's a little multi-tool that makes the blade go back and forth. The half moon one works the best. They do make a straight one, like for toe kicks and stuff like that, but or trim at the bottom of the door. That's number one. Number two, critical on the tack strip. I can't stress enough. The reason you should remove the tack strip is because if you leave the tack strip, demo gets done, everything is dry in your opinion, they put down the new carpet in about a month and a half. The water that you can never get to go away that's between the concrete and the tack strip, there's about a pencil width of moisture there. What ends up happening is that moisture wicks up through the nails in the tack strip, and in about a month and a half, the customer's gonna have molded out carpet along the entire edge of their brand new laid carpet. That's what I would like to say.
Will you point out the screws too, because they're almost all gone. We had to look really hard.
Yes, that's a detail that's not really the line item for, but we remove them to make it easier for the reconstruction company. Since we obviously work with 5 main reconstruction companies, we try to make it as easy as we can for them. I'll give you another suggestion too. A 2-foot flood cut or a 4-foot flood cut is not actually 2 foot. Number one, y'all all know when you're running a saw, you're going to go high and low above that 2-foot mark or the 4-foot mark. When the reconstruction comes, you really need to cut it at 24 3/8 or 48 3/8. That extra 3/8 will make it so that when they do the rebuild, they can cut that 4x8 sheet of drywall right down the middle, and it'll go right on the wall without having to do little divot trims, which just takes time and effort and just it's a pain.
Does that keep it off the floor a little bit?
Yeah, it keeps off the floor, and it's all going to be covered by the flooring or the baseboard. So they'll never see that 24 3/8. It makes it so much easier on the rebuild side. Can't stress this enough.
Great. So that's great. Let's walk down the hallway. Elijah, we're going to put you on the spot. He wants to be on the video too, man. Okay. Elijah's out here in the field all the time with Glenn, right?
Yes, I am. I've been doing this on and off for about 10 years now. So one of the things that I saw that I like is they took the lighting fix off, so they don't have to clean it. Mm-hmm. So I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And second thing is these flood cuts, you can tell they did a little bit better job on that.
So that wall right there looks really nice.
So this is
there it is.
We all agree with that one?
Yes, that's what it should look like.
Real quick, so for the video, if you're wanting a good flood cut, Elijah, he's pointing you out, this is the one that we want it to look like.
Correct.
Okay. Good.
And another thing that I like to do is if you see a TV mounted on our wall, give the homeowner an option if they want to take it down or if they want to cover it up for safety reasons.
Well, one of the things we'll add on that is for you as an owner in your company, you might decide that, hey, we're not taking these off for liability and we're always going to cover them, or we're going to take them off. But I love the option of talking with the customer so they understand what you're going to do on the job. That's great.
Yep.
You want to point out with this too, same thing that you talked in the last room?
Same thing. You end up with your demo dust all over it. So cover it and use your own lights, or yeah.
And I know TVs aren't as expensive as they used to be, but same thing on someone's TV. This is probably not something an adjuster is going to want to see because now they're going to be saying, hey, do I have to pay for a TV?
Right.
So this is basically just a final cleanup walkthrough. Is there anything else, Glenn, you think other guys out there in the industry could really use to help train their technicians on?
We've, of course, we use 2 rounds of antimicrobial, and we use a product called PRS. That's why it smells so good in here. The PRS is our magic fairy dust that we use to make a job smell really, really nice. Really great for sewer losses, but also for, in this case, a Cat 2 loss. So this is post demo and post HEPA vacuuming the floors. We HEPA vacuum the floors. So this is post.
And I think we didn't point that out either, was the insulation, coming out, came out, and then we're going to HEPA vacuum in there. While we've got this going, do you want to do a little bit of how they would communicate with you, the antimicrobial of the floor, and then thank you for bringing that up, Lynn, of all this area? How do you want them to calculate the antimicrobial?
So the antimicrobial, we just need to know if it's on the floor, you're going to put F on your sheet. If it is, now this room, this is actually great. So this room, you say that it's not flood cut all the way around. So this, I'm going to need linear feet. So let's say this is 5 feet. That's going to be 5. Let's say this is another 10. That would be 10, so 15. So you would have to give me the linear feet for this actual room. But if you go back to the other room where we had the, let's walk back in there. All right. All right. So this one where you've got the entire perimeter was done. You don't need to give me any of this. You just need to put PF, perimeter of floor on the drywall flood cuts, and that will do it for you.
I like the fact that they're taking out all the door casing, because I've had run into that where they said don't take it off, match what's there, and they don't make it anymore.
Absolutely. So you're kind of saving everybody a headache, right? When you pull those out. And if you pull them out, then there isn't a choice but to get all new. And then your rebuild guys aren't running around trying to match. And we do know that even if we have those flat trims, which a lot of people are putting in now, especially in the newer homes, you think that you can match that, but it's never going to really match. The texture is going to be a little bit different once they repaint and that type of thing. So just take it all off and then rebuild can go in and put all new. Okay, so that's on the trim. And again, this is something we didn't really hear from water guys. We heard this from rebuild guys, that they really appreciate it when all that trim is removed so they can just go in and put new and don't have to worry about matching. Okay, you have to pull it up, and the word that you can use if you ever need to justify that, Karina kind of used the word sandwich, right? If you've got that tack strip and then you've got the cement underneath it, you're never going to be able to get all of that water. And so then once you put that new carpet on there, it's gonna come up kind of through those nails into the edge of those carpets. So we have to make sure we pull that tap strip so we know that it's dry, right? The perimeter is dry, they lay down new, and then they have carpet. There's no issue with possible additional water or mold growing on the edges of those carpets. So always pull the tack strip. The other thing with the flood cuts, and I'm sure everyone is doing this, but you never want to give them just a 24-inch or 48-inch flood cut. Give them that extra 3/8 of an inch on those flood cut, and that makes it so they can cut that 24 or 48 and it's going to slide right in there, and they don't have to worry about making all those small little adjustments on the bottom because the floor isn't quite even or your cut wasn't quite even. So just give them that extra 3/8 of an inch on that flood cut. So let's go to the content side of it, right? Preparing the room for demo by covering up the light fixtures or the electronics or that type of thing. I just want to touch on that. First of all, if we're covering up electronics or art or whatever to protect it for demo, there's no reason to uncover it, right? That can be the last thing that you do. You walk through everything with the homeowner, then you can remove that protected plastic from the electronics and the art and that type of thing if you're protecting those things. So that can be the last thing that you do. So we make sure that those don't get any dust on them. Then you're going to have to choose with your light fixtures. You've kind of got two choices. You cover them up for the demo, and then you uncover them because you're going to be using that lighting while you're doing the job. The other thing is you leave them covered so you don't get any additional dust, but then you're going to have to bring in your own lighting for that job, right? So we have to choose two. We're either going to cover it for the demo, uncover it so we have the lighting source, but then at the end of the job, you might have to do some cleanup because there's some dust on there, or leave it covered up and then bring in your own lighting. But we can't leave it covered and use the lighting because what might happen?
Melt that plastic on the light, have to replace it.
melt some plastic on a lighting fixture, right? And then we're going to have to replace it. So we didn't really protect anything, right? So you're going to have to kind of make your choice on that one. Or like that hall fixture that Elijah pointed out, if it's a fixture that you can remove, right? Like you just taken off the bulb or the shades or whatever it is, then just remove it. And then you keep it from getting dirty, and you can put it back up, pack it nicely so that it's not going to get broke. And then you can reinstall if that's an easy part. Any takes on what you guys do with electronics? Is anyone removing the TVs from the walls? Is anybody doing that?
No.
Usually ask the customers, or if it's going to be in the way of something, then we'll take it down.
Yeah. So I think you do either, right? But just ask permission. If you're going to take anything off the wall, ask and present them with their options. It's best if we take this TV off the wall due to such and such. Where would you like us to put it? We'll wrap it in this and place it here. Do you want to take it down yourself? You just have a conversation. If you're going to manipulate any of their contents like that, just have the conversation and do what works best for you guys.
Stacy, Tim has a good item to add.
Good.
Whenever we're covering up like fans and stuff, just make sure to tape the light switch. That way somebody can't just come through and pop a light switch on and turn the fan on while it's covered in plastic.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for adding that, Tim. Yes. Any type of light fixture, or that type of thing, tape it so everybody knows not to turn that on and off. Even if it's not a fan and it is just the light, but you have it wrapped, tape that so the homeowner doesn't come in and flip the switch to see what's going on your job site. Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. Tape that light fixture, that light switch. Great add-on. Okay, real quick. I just want to go over a couple things that you would do on the last day. So we did a couple of just last minute things on the last day of the job on the client end. Okay. So make sure that you get the certificate of satisfaction. Some people call it a certificate of completion. Make sure that's signed after you do the walkthrough with them. It's a good opportunity to make sure all of your equipment and tools have been pulled, right? And this is one I really like. Once all of your equipment is pulled, I like to take that room scope sheet and review it to make sure that all the work that was completed is documented. So if I'm standing in a room, that we've just pulled all the equipment out of it and it's empty of everything, I'm going to want to look on that room scope sheet and say, oh, do I have contents manipulation on here? Did we spray down antimicrobial, right when we pulled all the equipment, or did we HEPA vac one last time? Do I have that on my room scope sheet? It's a good time to walk through with that room scope sheet, kind of remembering everything you did on that job and make sure that it's all documented on there. So you're getting paid for everything you do. I think it's a great time to double check your documentation is when you're doing a last look at that finished job. Next thing is whether you guys have a rebuild side or you'd recommended another rebuild team, check with the homeowner and make sure that they've had communication with that rebuild team, right? So Mrs. Jones, I know that Robert's coming out to do the rebuild. Have you had communication with him? And she says, oh, yes, they're coming tomorrow. Or she says, oh, no, I haven't heard from Robert or his team yet. So when you leave her house, you're going to want to call, hey, Robert, I just pulled everything from Mrs. Jones. It's ready for the rebuilds. Do you want to, set something up with her? But make sure kind of that next step, if you're involved in it, that there's been some communication. Okay. Get your review, your Google review, your review app, whatever you're using. And then just last thing you do when you leave is you want to give her a business card, or, if she has certificate of completion or whatever that she signed. Your contact information is on there. Mrs. Jones, I want you to know if you have any questions in the next week or two, don't hesitate to call us, right? So end on that. We're still open for communication if you have any questions before you leave. And then this one sounds, pretty self-explanatory, but if it's a cash job, when you pull out that equipment before you leave, you should be getting the final payment. I don't know how many times, the technician leaves and the owner's like, did you get the check? And they're like, what? I was supposed to get a check? If it's a cash job, before you go that final day, know what the balance is on the invoice, right? So, hey, Mrs. Jones, everything looks great. Okay, good. I want to make sure you contact us if you have any questions. Do you have that final check? And she's like, well, how much is it? I'll write you a check right now. And you don't know, right? I'm not sure, Mrs. Jones, how much you owe us, but let me make some calls. So it's good to know what the final payment is left on that job. So if it's a cash job, you can get the final payment. And if you work, I just want to add this because we've noticed this a lot. If there's a rebuild team that you work with quite often, it's not a bad thing to touch base with them every now and again and say, hey, are you noticing anything on our jobs that we could do that would make it easier for you? Right? There might be something here and there that's going to make them a lot more excited to work with you, right? Or even refer you work if they have any people that need work done, if they like coming in at the end of your job. Right? If they like coming in at the end of your jobs, everything is set up good for them. That's a good affiliate relationship to really build. And then your customer is getting a good rebuild.